One of the most massive attacks on Ukraine, Russians press on all fronts with the most combat clashes occurring on Pokrovsk front, and how Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh assassinated in Tehran. The latest news from Ukraine and around the world. On the night of July 31, Russia carried out one of the most massive attacks on Ukraine with strike UAVs in the entire war. The main Russian target was Kiev, according to the Kiev City Military Administration. Russia launched dozens of drones at Kiev. This was the seventh Russian drone attack on Kiev in July. In terms of the number of UAVs used, it was the most massive for the Ukrainian capital in 2024. Russian drones came at Kiev in waves and from almost every possible direction. Over 3 dozen drones were destroyed by Ukrainian air defense forces and means in the airspace of the capital and on the outskirts. The type and exact number of UAVs will be made public in a report by the Ukrainian Air Force. The Kyiv City Military Administration reports that according to the operational report as of 6:18 a.m., there were no casualties or damage in Kyiv. The data is preliminary. The information is being updated. The statement says the air raid in Kyiv lasted more than 7 hours, namely 7 hours and 14 minutes. The longest alert for the entire period of the war was recorded on May 27, 2022. It lasted 7 hours and 55 minutes. Later, it became known in Kyiv and on the outskirts of the capital, Ukrainian air defense shot down more than 14 Russian drones. According to Kyiv City Military Administration, during the morning, the second wave of drone strikes, Russian drones continued to attack Kyiv in waves from certain directions. However, not a single Russian drone achieved its goal. The statement says several more Russian attack drones were hit by Ukrainian air defense forces and means. In total, more than 4 dozen Russian UAVs were shot down in the airspace of Kyiv and on the outskirts of the capital during these 2 waves. The exact figures will be provided by the Ukrainian Air Force. Russian forces attacked Ukraine with Ha-59 guided missile and 89 Shahed attack UAVs on the night of 30-31 July, and all air targets were destroyed by Ukrainian air defense. Source: Ukrainian Air Force on Telegram. Quote from the Air Force: Ukrainian air defense withstood and repelled an enemy large-scale drone attack. All 89 of the Shahed 136 attack UAVs detected by the Air Force radar units were shot down. A Ha-59 guided missile used by the enemy to attack Mykolaiv Oblast was also shot down. About details, it is reported that the Russians fired the missile from the airspace of the occupied part of Kherson Oblast, and the Shahed drones were launched from around the Russian cities and towns of Yeysk, Seshcha, Kursk, and Primorsk-Akhtarsk. The main target of the attack was Kyiv Oblast. Mobile fire groups of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, tactical aircraft of the Air Force, army aircraft of the ground forces, anti-aircraft missile units, and electronic warfare units of the Air Force were involved in repelling the airstrike. A fire broke out in a private house in Kyiv region because of the drone pieces that fell on it on the night of 30-31 July, source State Emergency Service on Facebook. At night, as a result of the fall of the enemy drone pieces in Brovary district, a house was destroyed and then burned down. Firefighters reported that the fire was extinguished at 4:14 a.m. on an area of 60 square meters. There were no casualties. 8 firefighters and 2 units of fire and rescue equipment were involved. Update: Ruslan Kravchenko, head of the Kyiv Oblast State Administration, later reported that 13 houses in 4 districts of Kyiv region are known to have been damaged as of 9:13 a.m. The UAV wreckage damaged facades and roofs and smashed windows. Firefighters extinguished a fire in one of the houses. Operational groups continue to document and deal with the aftermath of the Russian attack. The majority of the UAV wreckage crashed outside of populated areas. Russian forces continue to bombard Ukraine and try to break through the defenses of Ukrainian troops along the entire line of contact. A total of 144 combat clashes took place over the past day, most of them on the Pokrovsk and Toretsk fronts. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook, information as of 8 a.m. on 31 July. Quote: Yesterday, 30 July, the enemy launched 1 missile attack on the positions of Ukrainian units and populated areas using 1 missile as well as 85 airstrikes using 141 aerial bombs. In addition, the enemy fired 4,352 times, 90 of which were from multiple launch rocket systems. On the Kharkiv front, the Russians continued their offensive assault actions with a total of 6 combat clashes. The fighting took place in particular near the settlements of Tikhe and Volchansk-Kharkiv region. On the Kupiansk front, there were 7 combat clashes over the past 24 hours. The Ukrainian defense forces repelled Russian assaults near the settlements of Pishane and Stelmachivka, Kharkiv region. On the Liman front, Ukrainian defenders repelled 18 Russian attacks near the settlements of Nevsky and Makiivka, Luhansk region, and Srebranka forest. On the Siversk front, Ukrainian defenders repelled 4 Russian assaults in the vicinities of Verkhnekamensk and Vyemka. On the Kramatorsk front, Ukrainian forces repelled 12 Russian attempts to break through the defenses near Chasiv Yar, Donetsk region. On the Toretsk front, the Russians conducted 23 attacks near the settlements of Pivnichne, Toretsk, New York, and Zalizne. On the Pokrovsk front, the Ukrainian defense forces stopped 48 attacks near Novo-Oleksandrivka, Vesela, Serhiivka, Zhelanne, Yasnobrodivka, Vozdvizhenka, Ivanivka, Timofeivka, and Kalinova. On the Kurakhova front, Ukrainian defenders continued to hold back the Russians in the vicinity of Krasnohorivka, Konstantinivka, and Paraskovyevka, where the Russians attempted to break through Ukrainian defense 16 times. On the Vremyivka front, the Russians conducted 5 unsuccessful assaults on Ukrainian positions near the village of Stepovano-Vasilka, Donetsk region. On the Orikhiv front, there were 5 combat clashes near the villages of Malotokmachka, Robotine, and Novoandriivka, Zaporizhia region. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forces are continuing to inflict significant losses on Russian troops in both manpower and equipment, depleting the Russian forces along the entire line of contact and in the rear. Over the past 24 hours, the defense forces hit 1,060 Russian soldiers, 9 tanks, 20 armored combat vehicles, 30 artillery systems, 1 MLRS, 1 air defense system, 21 tactical UAVs, 1 cruise missile, 52 vehicles, and 1 piece of special equipment. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is leading presidential candidate Donald Trump in 4 of the 7 key states that are likely to determine the outcome of the November elections, informed Bloomberg. According to a poll conducted by Bloomberg News and Morning Consult, Harris leads Trump in Arizona, 49% for the vice president versus 47% for the former president. Wisconsin 50% to 47%, Michigan 53% to 42%, and Nevada 47% to 45%. At the same time, both candidates have garnered the same level of support in Georgia, 47%. In the remaining 2 swing states, Trump is ahead of Harris in Pennsylvania, 50% to 46%, and North Carolina, 50% to 46%. Overall, the current vice president leads the former president by 1 percentage point. Harris has 48% of the respondents' support, while Trump has 47%. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, the current president, was trailing Trump by 2 percentage points, 47% to 45%, in a similar poll conducted in early July. This poll showing Harris's lead over Trump was conducted from July 24 to 28. Nearly 5,000 American voters from 7 states participated in the survey. The margin of error was 1 percentage point. It is worth noting that Kamala Harris raised a record $200 million in donations during the first week of her campaign. Her campaign team stated that this demonstrates overwhelming support for her candidacy for the U.S. presidency. The leader of the radical Palestinian movement Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, and one of his bodyguards were killed in an attack on their residence in Tehran, according to a statement by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC reported that an investigation into the incident is ongoing. According to AP, Haniyeh was in Tehran attending the inauguration ceremony of Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian. Analysts on Iranian state television immediately began blaming Israel for the attack. Israel has not yet commented on the information. Hamas accused Israel of killing Haniyeh during an airstrike in Iran, Bloomberg reported. Later, Israel Heritage Minister Amichai Eliyahu became the first high-ranking Israeli official to respond to the killing of the Hamas leader, writing on X that this is the right way to clean the world of this filth. His comments were made despite reports in the Israeli media that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had ordered his ministers to remain silent about the nighttime killing in the Iranian capital. Recall that in April the IDF killed 3 of Haniyeh's sons in an attack in the northern Gaza Strip. That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.